Was trying to think of a time when I had ever been near lightning, because this story in Paul sounds a lot like someone being struck by lightning, or the lightning being very close to where they are. And I do remember a time when I was a kid, probably about 10 or 12, and behind our dairy barn, we had about a 14-acre pasture field. 7 acres was kind of the regular pasture field, and there was another 7 acres down a cow lane, by a woodlot, across a gravel road over here, about a half-mile away. And one evening, when I was bringing the cows back from summer pasture, I'd walk all the way over to this pasture about a half-mile away and call the cows. And we had a dog always that was with me and kind of would help gather the cows. And we were walking back up this cow lane under huge, majestic maple trees, and all of a sudden there was a thunderstorm rolling in. And the last place you really want to be is under big, tall, 100-year-old maple trees when there's a thunderstorm. And the wind was picking up. It was quite ferocious, and I could hear the lightning coming. Far off, closer, closer. And obviously you judge how close the storm is by the boom after the lightning. And finally there was one strike, and it went zap. There was a snap. You know that instant snap after it hits, and boom! Scared me half to death. Scared the cows half to death. They ran all the way to the barn, up the cow lane, and the dog, I didn't see the dog for a couple of days. It was really close, and caused me to realize the damage of lightning or its danger. I had seen trees on our farm split down the middle when they had been struck by lightning, the enormous power of it all. And for a while, I was pretty nervous when thunderstorms were around, churning, because our farm sits on a high plateau. We're very exposed, and lightning dances around us frequently in the summertime. Paul appears to be, or almost appears to be, hit by lightning. The reading in Acts says there was an enormous flash, and people heard words being spoken, but no one was there. And the words sounded something like, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" And so we have the beginnings of a dramatic intervention by God into Saul's life. And whether we are able to easily believe this or not, there are times in our lives when God needs to get our attention and does it dramatically. It happens to Saul here. Now, what's the problem with Saul? The problem is, we think, as we read the scripture and as we understand his personal history, he's been trained in the Pharisaical tradition. He is a Jew through and through, very devout, a good man. He's suspicious of any new way of thinking about God, and especially suspicious of Jesus and of his followers and of everything that has been going on in the days of Jesus' life. And now, in this period after Sunday morning, in this period of the resurrection, when the disciples are no longer fearful but filled with an excitement and a courage and an enthusiasm that is just hard to stop. Paul is one of the people who is saying, tradition, 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 you are way out there. You are teaching a message about God that is unacceptable. You are saying that Jesus was the Messiah. We do not believe that, and so on. So all of this unfolds. Paul is very, very blind to what is going on around him, and following this lightning strike, it would seem that he is even more blind. He cannot see for 3 days. Now, as we read the story, we discover there is a follower of the way, a disciple in Damascus named Ananias. Ananias is a good man. Ananias wants to do God's work and is nudged by God to go see Saul. In fact, given very specific direction, Saul is in Damascus. Go and lay your hands on him so he may be healed. And Ananias rightly says, what are you telling me? This guy and his group of thugs that he has with him is identifying Christians, tying them up, hauling them to Jerusalem, where they may be tried and stoned as a result of their trial before the high priest. So Ananias wants nothing to do with this healing moment that God is asking him to do. Finally, Jesus' words prevail on Ananias. He goes to where Saul is, lays hands on him, blesses him, and something like scales fall from Saul's eyes. In any event, Paul is able to see again. And he becomes, as a result of that whole experience, a believer that God is doing something new with his life in particular. Now, this is where we need to make the transition from Saul and Saul's ability to see to you and to me and our ability to see. And I have a little quote I want to share with you. This scripture, verse 8 of Acts, is more than a statement about physical sight. This is a statement about comprehension, about the way we frequently choose not to see what we are seeing and not to know what we know. Saul, with his eyes wide open, could not see that the path he was taking was contrary to everything that he claimed to believe about God.